Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Lauren. Today we are going to be talking about a topic that I've seen coming up in the comments, and that is PCOS, or polycystic ovarian syndrome. I was diagnosed with PCOS 15 years ago, so I've known I've had it for quite a while. And today I want to share a little bit about the diagnosis story, how I got diagnosed, the symptoms I was having, and how that all came about. Stella is joining us. I have some tea here, some spearmint tea, in honor of this conversation. Spearmint tea is something that has really helped me as I've been balancing my hormones and lowering my testosterone. PCOS is something that can be kind of tough to talk about, honestly, because it's not an ideal thing to get diagnosed with, and the symptoms are just not fun. I feel like there's not enough people who talk about it. Many people have never heard of PCOS and don't even know what it is, so I'm hoping to bring some awareness to the topic and share a little bit more about it with you guys. And I just want you to know that if you have PCOS or if you've had other hormonal challenges, my heart goes out to you because it makes me a little emotional. It's really hard. I think I've learned how important our hormones are and just how much they affect through this journey. I'm gonna try not to get emotional during this. Let's jump right into it. Let's start when I was diagnosed. Let's go way back. When I was 12 or 13, I got my period for the first time, and it wasn't normal. It was debilitating. Like, I was throwing up, the cramps were horrible, I couldn't function. I was kind of horrified. I was like, what is happening to me right now? It was honestly kind of scary, and I dealt with that for a while, and it was just kind of like, oh, you know, this is normal, like this is what it is being a woman, you know, it sucks. And I was like, okay, wow. I remember in school, I would always get sent to the nurse's office. The nurse would be like, oh, do you have a test or something? Are you just faking this? And I was like, I need to go to the hospital. Just to start, there's not a lot of support, obviously, and around women's periods, I feel like that's not something that people talk about a ton. So it was difficult. There weren't other people talking about this. It got to the point where it was so bad that my mom took me to an endocrinologist, which is a hormone doctor. I think this is back in maybe 2009 or so. It was just so out of hand. It was so clear something was wrong. My skin was breaking out like crazy. I had acne, and that was really tough to deal with. I had terrible insomnia, brain fog, fatigue. I could not focus. I could not wake up in the morning because once I finally got to bed at 4 a.m., I really struggled to wake up for school. I was always late to school because of my sleeping patterns, and I was having such a tough time waking up. The simple act of waking up in the morning was so hard. I felt like crap all the time. So we went to an endocrinologist, and he did blood work. He started looking at my symptoms. We found that my testosterone levels were, I think, 3 times what they should have been, which is very significant. That was the first sign. The acne was also a sign. My irregular periods and really painful periods was a sign. They didn't even bother to do an ultrasound to check for cysts at that point. To receive a diagnosis of PCOS, you have to have 2 out of 3 signs. I can even reference it. One being irregular ovulation. So that could be that you have an irregular period, you don't get your period for a long time. The second is signs of increased androgen levels, or a blood test confirming that you have increased levels. So that was the testosterone. And then the third thing is multiple small cysts on your ovaries. If you have 2 out of 3 of those symptoms, they will diagnose you with PCOS. There hasn't been a ton of research done around PCOS, and they know that it's somewhat genetic for some, and it's also related to your environment and your lifestyle. There are so many hormone disrupting things in the modern world that can really affect your testosterone levels, your estrogen levels. So I'm in the endocrinologist's office, you know, they did the blood work, everything. He's like, you have something called PCOS. I'm maybe 14 at the time, and I was like, PCOS? I don't even know, I've never heard of that. I did not know a single person that had PCOS. I had never heard of it. I think I Googled it later, and there was not much information. So I was dealing with a lot of symptoms at that point. Obviously, I said I had the irregular periods, the throwing up during my periods. I had acne, my hair was thin. I had a lot of emotional mood swings, was just feeling really down, the insomnia, constant stomach pain, fatigue, brain fog, and also crazy sugar cravings, like sweets. I could eat sweets all day long, and I did. I had a very bad diet at that point, which if you know me now, you would be shocked, but I was literally sustaining myself off of sugary things like candy constantly and bread. I didn't know I had celiac disease at that point yet too, so that kind of played into all of my symptoms as well. In my childhood and teenage years, I just spent a lot of time at doctors. I got sent to the hospital because they just didn't know what was going on. I would have this horrible stomach pain, probably from a combination of PCOS and celiac disease. It was either a cyst bursting or my celiac disease. And I would go to the doctor because it was like I was doubled over in pain. They would be like, your appendix is bursting, like you need to get to the hospital. I would go to the hospital and they would be like, it's not your appendix, we don't know what it is. When I was at the endocrinologist, they didn't really tell me too much about what PCOS was. To his defense, it was not well studied. There wasn't a ton of information out there. He said, you will need to be on birth control pills and that will fix everything. Birth control pills were a band-aid. And they caused so many other issues for me personally. And I have many friends who went through the same thing, but I was on them for 10 years because I thought that was my only option. I didn't understand there were changes I could make to my diet, to my lifestyle, to the products I use, to my environment that I'm in. I didn't even know that that was an option. And I was just kind of told, here's this band-aid. Because I was so young when I was diagnosed, they didn't talk to me at all about the possibility for infertility, which honestly I'm grateful for because I've had so many gynecologists and doctors since talk to me about that. And I have an overall very positive perspective on PCOS. I take really good care of myself. I prioritize my health above anything in my life now. It wasn't always that way, but I really do. So I have a positive attitude about it, but sometimes it does make me emotional when doctors say certain things. When I was 22, I went to the gynecologist. It was new. I had just moved to Dallas from California. I said, I have PCOS. And she said, you need to have kids right now, or you won't be able to. Imagine being 22. I was not married. Me and Jimmy had just moved in together. I was not ready for children whatsoever. If you are when you're younger, more power to you, but I was not. I was not in that place at all. I'm still not in that place yet. I had just moved in with my boyfriend and I was being told, you need to have children right now if you ever want to have children. I remember leaving that appointment, going into my car and just like bawling my eyes out because it felt really, really terrible to have someone say that to you. Look, I get where she's coming from. She was like, if you have this, I want you to have the best possible chance of having children. So I'm gonna tell you this, but it was painful. It was really painful to hear. Nothing about diet, lifestyle, this and that, like nothing like that was brought up. I'm sure there are some wonderful doctors out there who really look at it as a root cause thing and look at the research, the up and coming research, and really take in the whole perspective. Unfortunately, I did not get that. I'm from the New York City area. When I lived in LA, when I lived in Dallas, now I live in Austin. The only person I've gotten that from has been an herbalist that I went to and a Chinese medicine doctor that I went to. I had to figure things out myself, which was honestly a blessing in disguise. I feel so much more informed at this point. I have learned so much. Like I said, I did not know anyone who had PCOS. For women especially, and I'm sure men too, fertility is such a touchy subject. Your cycle, your hormones, all of the symptoms that come with PCOS, those are touchy subjects. Back when there was not much on PCOS and I didn't know a single person who had it, it wasn't like I wanted to tell people. I definitely went through times in high school that were really tough where I got bullied for my skin because when your testosterone levels are so high and you have all those androgens, it's natural for your skin to break out. That is why things like spearmint tea, which is a natural anti-androgen, have been really impactful for me. Saw palmetto, that's something else, but I can do a video sharing what I've learned because there is so much. It's wild how many natural things there are that you can do to really balance your hormones and put yourself in the best possible situation for everyday living. Like, let's not even talk about fertility. Let's talk about everyday living. I felt like I was dragging myself through the day, the brain fog, all of that. It can be really tough when you're dealing with hormonal symptoms because there's a lot of things that are invisible that people can't even see. and you're just dealing with internally. I had a cyst burst probably in 2019 or 2020. I've had it happen before, and I was at home, luckily, and it just felt like someone stabbed me. A ghost had come into my kitchen, he had come up to me, and he had stabbed me with a knife. Like, that's where we were at, and it was my lower abdomen. I fell on the floor. In the moment, it was like, did my appendix just burst? Is that a cyst? Is that, like, what is happening? It's scary when you have those feelings and those pains in your body and you can't look inside yourself and figure out what's going on. And unfortunately, even when you go get ultrasounds and things like that, it's not the full picture. There's a lot of mystery around it, and you have to kind of be okay with that. And that's the hardest thing. If you're someone like me, that I can tend to be perfectionist sometimes and really want organization and control over things, you don't get that all the time with PCOS, you know? That itself was kind of a tough thing to accept. Something I want to talk about too is struggling with insulin resistance. When you have PCOS, like, your blood sugar is haywire. It can easily turn into type 2 diabetes. When I was not healthy, when I was young, like high school, I was having some of these symptoms. I was just confused. You know what? It's confusing. If someone had looked at me, they would say, oh, she looks healthy. Meanwhile, my diet was horrible. I had PCOS, I had celiac disease, I was drinking, I was not treating my body well, and I was really overdoing it on the sugar and things that convert to sugar, like breads and whatnot, gluten-free breads even. That has been a big part of this journey for me, is dealing with the insulin resistance, learning about it, learning what I can and can't eat, how to pair foods properly. I make sure to have a substantial amount of protein. You can check out my what I eat in a days. I think that there's a smart way to do it, because there's been a lot of studies, for example, that say red meat is not necessarily great to do with PCOS. I just recently started eating red meat once every month, maybe. I'm testing it out to see how my body feels. I personally stick to things like chicken, turkey, very lean meats, fish, a lot of fish. I think that's so great for PCOS, and a lot of plant-based proteins. For me, chickpeas are great, pumpkin seeds, quinoa. So to tell you about the kind of second half of my PCOS story, because really the first half of my PCOS story is me in my teens and going through high school, going through college, just accepting it, really. I thought there was nothing I could do, so that was it. Then we go into my 20s. In my mid-20s, I hit a point. I had been on birth control for 10 years. Something in me was just realizing that every single month, the week before my period, I would feel crazy. My mood swings were the worst they had ever been. It was like, I would just get horribly sad out of nowhere. It was just every single month. I started talking to all my friends that were on birth control, same thing. And I was like, there's gotta be another way. There's gotta be something else here. I started looking into my options. I decided I was not gonna do hormonal birth control anymore. A lot of my friends at the same time, 25, they were getting off hormonal birth control. And guess what? There's not a lot of great options. I decided I was going to try the copper IUD, which is the non-hormonal one. I got off birth control, made the appointment for the copper IUD. They told me, it'll be a breeze. You might have some cramping. That's it. And I was like, okay, cool. Jimmy drove me home. I got the procedure done in the morning. I threw up for 14 hours straight, face down on the bathroom floor tile. I was like, something's wrong. This can't be okay. This is not meant to be in my body. Called the gynecologist. She was like, no, it's normal. We'll just prescribe you anti-nausea medicine. I took it, I threw up. So for a full year, I started having all these pains, and I made like 4 appointments over the course of a year. I kept coming back to her and I said, something is wrong with my IUD. And she was like, no, you're just imagining it. It's mental, you know, you just have to get used to it. Well, the 4th time I went back, I said, I need to get an ultrasound. So she brought it in, and it was in the totally wrong spot. Not only was I going off of hormonal birth control, which that was hiding a lot of my pain and my symptoms. So my body was kind of getting used to rebalancing my hormones. On top of that, I had this pain of like this foreign object in my body. I feel that they could do a better job warning women about just the possibilities of what could happen. Because look, I have a couple of friends that they have an IUD and they love it. So for some people it works. But especially knowing I had PCOS and I have endometriosis, that should probably not have been suggested. Now let's talk about present day, last few years. I got my IUD removed. I literally got it removed, and she said, do you want me to put another one in? I was like, do not even come at me with one of those things. I said, you know what? This past year has been kind of hell dealing with this, and honestly, past 10 years have just been really rough with my hormones. I am going to figure this out myself. I got a book, I will put it in the description box down below, about hormones by this amazing doctor, Dr. Aviva Ram. I started reading that. I started doing a ton of research. There has got to be a non-hormonal birth control option. I found that in Asia, there is a non-hormonal birth control pill. I have shown this to 4 different doctors and gynecologists. They've all said that it's perfectly safe to take. I decided to start taking it. For me, I was willing to take that risk of taking something that I didn't know anyone else who was taking it. I did my research, I felt good about it. And yeah, I've been taking it for 4 years now. On top of that, I've made so many lifestyle changes, diet changes, environmental changes, everything I could possibly do to put myself in the best possible situation. I understand my cycle so much more that I can predict what day of my cycle I'm gonna break out on. When I know that this is the part of my cycle where all my hormones are rising, like my testosterone is rising, I'm drinking my spearmint tea. I feel sad for 14-year-old Lauryn that she dealt with all this stuff. There were options. There were things I could have done to feel better. I just hope that by sharing this, whether you have PCOS, you know someone that has PCOS, you've had hormonal challenges, you know someone that has hormonal challenges, my hope is that from sharing this and talking about it, that we can bring more awareness to PCOS and empower women to take control of their own bodies and their own hormones and know that there are options. You don't have to feel like how I felt when my doctor told me you need to have a kid at 22 because you have PCOS. I haven't tried to have kids yet, so who knows what will happen one day. I try not to think about that too much because all I can do is put myself in the healthiest possible situation. All I know is my day-to-day has so drastically improved. I feel like a different person, and I am a different person. I have taken control of my life and my hormones. I hope that if you're in a similar situation, in whatever way that means to you, you get to take control too. This is like a very emotional, this is a very emotional topic to talk about. I would love to know if any of you have PCOS or know someone who does or have had hormonal imbalances, because I've seen the comments asking me to share what I eat with PCOS or what type of exercise I do and lifestyle. I feel so grateful for the place that I've gotten to, and I know that I can still continue to feel even better because I'm constantly making these little tweaks to my life and I really listen to my body. I'm happy to keep sharing about this because I don't think there's enough resources on it, and I want to normalize it more, that many people have hormonal challenges and imbalances, and PCOS is a lot more common than you think it is. A lot of women don't know they have PCOS too. That is my story of my diagnosis with PCOS, really just taking you through a brief overview of the past 10 years and some of the things that stick out to me through that journey. Like I said, if you have any sort of hormonal imbalance or challenge or anything that you're going through, my heart goes out to you. I just want you to know that you are not alone. There are so many people going through something similar, and it's just hard to talk about. I hope this was helpful. If it was, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know what other type of content you'd like to see. There's nothing more empowering than taking control of your health. Our health is so important, and I feel like it's the foundation of everything. That's kind of part of my why, of why I prioritize my health and why I live this lifestyle and why I've made so many changes over the years. Because trust me, oh my gosh, if you knew me back 15 years ago, 10 years ago, I was not thinking about my health whatsoever. That was not a thing. We have come a long way and we'll continue to go. I love you guys. I am so thankful that I have a community where I can share this. And if you have anyone that you know that has PCOS or hormonal challenges, please share this with them too. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.